Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Borowski, I'd just like to ask a question. I'm going to yield some of my time, but just to follow up on some of the discussion we had on the first panel with Mr. Allison, it's been mentioned that some companies have been getting mixed signals, mixed answers in terms of what's coming out of Treasury on requirements for paying back the payments or purchasing the warrants, I guess, what the regulations or stipulations might be for that. There's some frustration. In the work that your office has done or seen, have you found that the government or Treasury has been very clear in terms of what it's actually demanded for repayment of those funds, or has it been foggy? Just curious what your perspective might be on that.
With respect to the warrants, our audit is pending and ongoing, so I'm not really prepared at this time to give a sort of a conclusion that would come out of that audit. So it's a little bit premature for me to answer that question.
Okay. And I also have heard from some in the small business community about the way the stimulus or the TARP funds have been distributed or handled. The committee had a hearing yesterday on the whole issue of too big to fail, the full committee. And one of the things that we think we've missed is sort of the whole too small to save, or the concept of what small community banks or small business, what the impact has been on and where the majority of those funds have gone to the larger institutions. But after about 6 months now, we've seen the administration has started now finally to talk about actually looking at the small business angle and focusing more on that direction, which I think is smart and prudent. And as you know, I think at the first time go around earlier this year, we had an amendment, but it was before this committee, that would have added authorizing legislation that would have required you to report on small business activity as well as a part of Special Inspector General's obligations on the next report. Is that something you think you could look at including in your next report, just kind of including some measures on small business participation in the TARP or small financial institutions?
I think it would be, what we could do is with the information that we already have, maybe perhaps from the survey and what banks are doing with respect to small lending and what they're saying. We don't really have the resources or mechanism to do exactly what you're saying. That really falls on Treasury. I mean, that is a basic part of Treasury's, I think, obligations under the concept of transparency. They should be doing that assessment and making that information available. It really goes to the heart of our transparency recommendation about use of funds. How are the institutions using the funds with respect to small businesses, and reporting on in their transaction reports what their steps they are taking for small businesses. I'll be happy to work with you and your staff and have my staff talk to you if we could think out some other ways where we could contribute to that transparency. We're always open to suggestions, and we look forward to following up with you on that.
Well, I appreciate that. I do want to commend you for your work, and you've been very helpful, I know, to members on this committee. And I'd just like to yield the balance of my time, Mr. Chair, if I could, to Mr. McHenry.
Thank you. I thank my colleague